This is These Are My Friends. This is a podcast where I talk to friends and family about pivotal music experiences in their lives. Today we have my friend Mike, and we've been talking about doing this for a couple weeks now and tossing around ideas of what we might cover, but go into a little bit of discussion on hyperpop, some throwbacks to other episodes. It seems like a theme for a lot of people of listening to genres of music when they're younger that are confusing to the people around them and beguiling to the people around them, but finding some kind of value in those kinds of music that allow us to almost live in a different story that we might not be able to live in our own life. And Mike says a lot of really insightful stuff in this episode, so I hope you all enjoy. Here's Mike.
I was thinking about like my music sort of evolution and experience with music over the years. And I do think they flow much more naturally than it sounds like at the surface level. I basically always liked very maximalist music. Like music, the main place I consume music is in the gym. So I've always been looking for like high energy music. It's that or the car, which is again, I'm generally looking for like high energy. Because in high school, like when I first developed like my own music taste, it would have been like old school rap and like the harder the better, like NWA,
Yeah.
like I know like other people had talked about how, their first real love of music was something like metal or something really hardcore, really emo. And people were like, why are you listening to this? Like, what's going on in your life that
Right.
that identify with it? And I was like, I had the exact same questions asked to me, but it was like I was just listening to The Game
Yeah.
or NWA or whatever, where literally the furthest like about selling drugs and
Yeah.
cops and get like doing drive-bys, like nothing that I was ever involved with, even slightly
Yeah.
was like the main music I listened to. And then it moved like Waka Flocka Flame was
Uh-huh.
like my biggest rapper. Like he was like my favorite rapper for a really long time. I still actually like go back and listen to his music because it still just gets me so amped. And he started then doing stuff with like in the EDM realm.
Oh.
And it was, you know, I also loved EDM when I first, and I'd say it's like the dubstep, like
Yeah.
the like A-Track and the people who like in 2010 were starting to get big. Like before any radio station were, it was like the ugly EDM, like
Yeah. Yeah.
ugly dubstep, just like the wah 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 wah, like
Yeah.
that crazy sound. And so that was always that was the next thing I listened to after rap. And it was again, the harder the better. Unpleasant to listen to for sure. Like I would play songs for, a variety of people, including like my wife, Kelsey, and either they loved it or they were like, I can't listen to this. This is like making me scared. Like Kelsey,
Yeah.
some that I would play, Kelsey was like, I feel like I'm gonna get murdered when I listen to this music. Okay, please change it. So I listened to that and then it was really like with 100 Gex's album that came out in 20 end of 2019. And that is like again a very strange sounding, even some of the songs could barely even be considered music, I would say. Um, or they're reminiscent. You can identify musical qualities to them, but it's like just robotic voices saying Gex over and over and over.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, it's like more approachable now, but at the time, the first time I listened to it, I was like, what is this? And then I fell in love with it. And then it was really in 2020 during the pandemic, like where
Mm.
everyone was at home. And all of a sudden, it was like the perfect situation to fall in love with that music because there was no like immediate feedback I was getting from anyone besides Kelsey about my music being weird. And this
Yeah.
music has like a intense online community
Yeah.
where I was, I wasn't going out with friends, so I was like on the internet going to Minecraft concerts and stuff, where like 100 Gex was playing. I mean, the lineups are looking back at it, it's like, how were these not, that I think that they will be considered very important cultural times because it's like you had A.G. Cook, you
Yeah.
had Andy Harl, you had Charlie XCX, you had 100 Gex, you had Kira Bonito. I mean, like the lineups, it's a dream hyperpop fan lineup. And they
Yeah.
would happen somewhat regularly because there are all these online little,
Hmm.
events.
And yeah, I think I think it was like around pandemic time when I first heard. It may have been like a year or two before. It may have actually been when we were still in North Carolina that I first, like, I think I shared with you before, I saw them on some Adult Swim show, and they were playing like um or but it was like an Adult Swim like online show, like it wasn't part of their regular like terrestrial TV.
Mhm, mhm.
Um yeah, and just remembering that it was like, all the things that's characteristic of them, which is um well, first of all, like Laura had like her hair like all the way in front of her face and was like
Yeah,
making these like crazy vocal sounds and stuff like that, and I was just like, this is like, I like this just for the theatrics of
yeah, yeah,
it. And and but that's interesting about like the pandemic thing, because uh it seemed like such a like understimulating time in general for
yeah,
people. And I'm curious if, I mean, it seemed like you already had like an appetite, like you've said, for this like sort of maximalist, like high sensitivity sort of music. But I wonder if like those types of artists loaded like more to the top of the sort of like pop culture thing, because a lot of people were probably looking for like more stimulating, hyperactive,
right.
because we were
I
just
think
bored
so. Like,
most of the time.
and I know, like for me, when I think of like real deep lockdown, like Charlie XCX's album How I'm Feeling Now,
Yeah.
there's a song on it called Anthems, and it's basically about like getting back to partying with your friends. And I remember like just listening to that all over and over, being like, I can't wait till like we're back partying with people. But it is interesting because it's something that you can listen to it on like by yourself and it gives you the feeling of being at a party, but it doesn't necessarily translate very well to being a party song because it is sort of,
Yeah.
it's hard to dance to,
Hmm.
even though it's about dancing. I mean, which I think is also somewhat common in that era of hyperpop. I mean, hyperpop is sort of strange now because it like doesn't mean anything. And I don't think it ever really did. It just was basically like, what do we call these weirdos making maximalist pop
Yeah.
that's like extremely derivative of other styles? But because we definitely can't call them like indie pop because they're not trying to sound,
Yeah.
pretty.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Uh, so
Yeah.
that,
Um, yeah, I mean, there's so much. I should ask you for just like for you to just like fire off a list of artists that I should look at, because I've sort of meant to like look into more of that style of music. Um,
yeah, I'd say like the number one place that really, and like this is, I came to the scene late, right? Like PC Music in general as a label, they started
mm,
back in 2013. And it was, A.G. Cook was the head of it. He
mm,
did most of the production, like earliest real, and I'm not a historian, so I could be saying wrong things, but like him and Hannah Diamond really created this sound of like what I think PC music became known for at the beginning. And it is like pop music to listen to in your bedroom. Hannah's stuff in particular is like almost overly childish
Hmm.
and like cutesy,
Yeah.
but AG Cook's production behind it is so interesting and unique. It sounds like familiar and nostalgic, but also totally new and unique at the same time.
Yeah. There's something um what's that it's like an AG Cook project, but what's that new album that just came out that's like a it has like a different like band name, I guess.
Die Slaughter.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's him and Easy Fun, I believe. Um, and that it's actually like they're playing a lot of actual instruments in that.
Oh,
That
cool.
it's sort of like their indie rock album.
Hmm.
They still have a similar sound, and the like vocals are definitely reminiscent of like traditional PC like or not whatever like original PC music type vocals. Like it sounds very familiar, but it's mostly, I believe, real instruments instead of just being all like computer generated.
Yeah, I'm trying to find there's one song um I'm not even gonna remember what it was now, but uh there's something about there's something about AG Cook that I haven't like quite figured out yet why like I haven't like really dug through everything that he's produced for other people or like solo work, but um he has like a particular like signature that
Yes.
is just like it's like instantly it's like catchy in a pretty like simple way, but also like really euphoric and like really
Yeah.
intense in a way that like sort of standard pop song structures are not. And like I'll hear like the stuff that Charlie XCX has with like AG Cook as a producer or like some other stuff or like when the Die Slaughter stuff came out, like I didn't know AG Cook had anything to do with it, and then I saw that was the case, and I was like, yeah, go figures, because the Ice Lauder stuff just like came through for me on Spotify, and I was like, what is this? Is like
Yeah. That,
unreal.
that's like exactly how every time I found like a new artist to explore in hyperpop, that was my reaction. Like I would say another one who I have to highlight that gave me that is Dorian Electra. I mean,
Okay.
it's their music is so maximalist, especially like I'm thinking of Career Boy is the one that just got me so hooked. It's basically a song about like loving being you know, totally ruined by your work. And it sort of, in general, their music has a lot of these tones of like mocking the traditional macho male
Huh.
mentality. So Flamboyant is another one by them that does this, and Man to
This
Man.
looks
I'd
kind
say
of
also for
familiar.
those three songs, you really have to watch the music videos as well.
Okay.
It's so extreme and maximalist. Like
Yeah.
Kelsey, and it's also funny. Kelsey, that was one that Kelsey had a hard time liking because the music videos are sort of disturbing, and Dorian had really disturbing stuff as well. So like those three are the ones that I would play to like and be like, you can watch this and enjoy it, I think. And then she'd be like, no, this is a little bit off put, it is very off-putting and almost
Yeah.
upsetting. But then we saw them live a few weeks ago, and Dorian's just such an amazing performer. Uh,
It and there's like I want to go back to because this has come up in like a couple conversations that I've had with friends for this about the like responding at a young age to music that like does not fit with your like the context that you're growing up in necessarily. Like, I've talked with like a couple of friends about, responding to like punk or hardcore metal at like a pretty young age and like having sort of straightforward suburban childhoods and getting like, questions like people asked you, like, why are you like what like yeah, like what is going on in your head like listening to this? Like what is happening in your life that you are listening to this kind of music or
Yeah, I think for me it was what was not happening in my life. Like that a
yeah,
lot of that what I'm drawn to about this is it is a safe way to rap was a safe way to explore being, I mean, a I suppose like a criminal. Like not
yeah,
I don't even mean it like against being doing things that are against the law, but like it was a way to explore using force to get what you wanted at any means by any
yeah,
means necessary without having to actually go and do that. I mean,
right,
art in general is like a way to do that, but for me, music was always a way to, you know, like I said, the gym is a big part of it. So it's like, how do I get amped up? I
right,
will, it is also odd with music because I've always liked pop music. Like I think I was thinking back on, and looking through my Spotify Wrapped and like some of my Spotify playlists that have been going for a decade now. And there's always a few pop songs sprinkled in. Like I can think of like the Veronicas. Their
hmm,
sound, is almost like you can see where pop music today came from that type of sound. It's very aggressive. It's also the other thing with pop music, I'm generally drawn to female performers.
yeah,
Uh, and the harder that they like right now, Slater is like one of my favorites. And her lyrics are, very intense, almost sexually violent
yeah,
in a way that like reminds me of the rap music I liked.
yeah,
Now
yeah,
that it's
yeah, yeah,
coming from like a pretty female voice, it almost makes it even more interesting to me and like
yeah,
catchy.
or like even harder.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, I mean I was kind of thinking like nobody really asks people like, why you like reading a book with such like graphical content or something like
Right.
that, or nobody really questions like somebody who's interested in horror movies unless they're like a like super nerdy horror enthusiast or something like that. But it does always seem to strike people as um like antisocial if like people are attracted to music in particular that seems to be out of sync with their like who they present themselves as, I guess.
Yes. Yeah, I think
And
also because music is something it's a low investment in terms of like sharing the
mm,
type of art that you like.
mm,
Much harder to like meet with somebody who's not a good friend and watch a movie that you really
yeah,
love. Or like read a book.
yeah,
Whereas
that's a good
and
point.
I think the other thing is it's more like you're saying, it's more traditionally accepted to read strange books. Like if you go and read A Clockwork
Right,
Orange
right.
as a like that is to me it is as extreme in terms of violence and
That's
sexual
horrific,
stuff
dude.
as any rap music could ever be.
Yeah,
But you would never, no child, like no teen or high school male would be. Well, I guess that never is not fair, but it's unlike it's much less likely that somebody's getting admonished for reading A Clockwork Orange. But I think it's the same thing. It's a way to explore what a life like that would be like in a
yeah,
safe way.
yeah, for sure. And what you were saying just like about pop music, and especially like female performers in particular, I've been Do you know Lizzie McAlpine?
It sounds familiar, but
It's like um I've been listening to her new album uh Older a lot, and it's like, I mean, it's like real sad boy kind of music, like I don't know, somebody will probably get like super angry about the comparison, but it's sort of like Phoebe Bridgers adjacent kind of
okay.
music, just
Yeah,
like
yeah.
really like very sincere and very like kind of heartfelt songwriting. And but there is this, like, I always notice for myself, there is this swing between like very extreme forms of music and then like very melodic and like very sort of syrupy sweet vocal performances and stuff like that. And for some reason too, I because Aaron got me into more like, I don't know if like EDM stuff necessarily, but more like to be comfortable with more synthetic
Hmm.
music. Um, and I always notice, like, I don't know if there is like weird like masculinity stuff built into this, but I have a really hard time with like male vocalists in that kind of music, and I'm never sure why. I'm like always inclined towards
Right. Even my favorite songs like that are done by a male, they're usually have a very, they're singing in a very beautiful.
right. Yeah. Yeah, and
There's something about the contrast of like a beautiful voice with all this synthetic noise that just for me, I don't know what it is, but I know that I enjoy that.
yeah, and I know, and like if I have like my Discover Weekly playlist on or something like that, or like something comes up randomly on Spotify and it's like of that sort of musical type and I haven't heard vocals yet, I know I'll say like in my head, I'm like, I really hope this isn't like male vocals that are coming up.
Yeah.
And I still, I like, it's probably worth some time to like listen to a bunch of it and like try and sort of sift through like what it is that I don't think functions as well. But then even in like extreme like metal or like hardcore music that I listen to, I love when there's like female vocals to it, because like you're saying, it's this contrast that's like, here's this sort of more like upper register, like cleaner, sometimes cleaner vocals that are like layered over top of this like very intense, overstimulating kind of maximalist music, even if it's in like a more like sort of metal or metal
Yeah,
adjacent
yeah.
genre. And I think that like collision of the two gives this um I think we just like we pay attention to things that like seem like they're not supposed to mash
Right.
together very well.
Right. And I think it's like I mean for me, because when I think of like the hard style artists I like Showtek or Headhunters, there that is usually male vocals, although they sometimes work with female vocalists. And
Hmm.
it does work for me. Waka Flocka is like another one.
Yeah.
Um, but also thinking like Flocka's favorite EDM type music like this, like the epitome song for me is Wild Out. It's like
Hmm.
by him and Borgore. But there, even on that song, there is a female vocalist, and it helps even more contrast like
Yeah.
the intense, like almost screaming qualities of Flocka, the really aggressive underlying beat, and then the female vocalist coming in and just like it helps. Like I don't think you can take all ugliness for too long without it becoming boring. And so
Yeah.
the like pretty or beautiful, like the beautiful, more traditionally beautiful parts coming in
Yeah.
helps you like it breaks up the monotony of only one type of sound coming in.
Yeah, that's a good yeah, that's a good observation. And I notice for myself too, I'll even do that with like I kind of exhaust myself sometimes on like much more intense, harder music in general, and then I'll be like, I'm gonna, I need to like cleanse
Yes.
myself now,
Yes,
and
my playlists are like literally that. Like it'll be like 10 things in a row of like real aggressive hard style, and then like I knew Charlie XCX I've always really liked. And
mhm.
so it'd be like really aggressive headhunter, show tech, hard style stuff, and then like boom clap. And it would even have I would always laugh because the boom clap version I saved to my playlist way back when is the one from A Fault in Our Stars. So it has
Oh
the
yeah,
the girl like with the oxygen tank walking down
yeah,
the street. And it's just like it just sticks out so in such a funny way against
yeah,
like all the aggressive music preceding it.
yeah, and so like you talked a little bit about like sharing this kind of stuff with friends or with Kelsey or whomever, and them being like put off by it. What, how do you find yourself explaining it to them before sharing it or like trying to justify like
Yeah, I
I don't
don't
know if this happens but like you know in a scenario where like no you gotta like listen it's about like listening for this or listening for that and you know trying to like because I have plenty of that with you know plenty of people in my life where I'm like no you just it's not you're listening to the wrong things it's not
right, right. Yeah, I sort of have given up, and thankfully, I mean, Kelsey just understands now that is what I like.
yeah
Um, and I think the problem with getting someone to like your new favorite song is like oftentimes your song, I find for me, my new favorite song, it's my new favorite song because of like the music I've listened to over the past, year or
hmm
so. And this just does something a little different or is like the best version to me of this style and without having that lead up I think it can be too jarring of a transition from
mm,
what someone else is listening to.
yeah
It's sort of like I imagine with metal it's the same way where like there unless you go through like harder rock on your way there. Like it's rare to find somebody who just immediately loves metal, but if you can
yeah
like go through the spectrum at your own pace, uh, it's easier to see the what metal does that's so good and unique to metal.
yeah yeah and I think I've understood more and more too that like I can't just you want to like share with people things you're excited about.
Right.
Like that's just natural to being a person, I think. But
Yeah.
you know, especially with art too, it's such a you know, it's like I mean, justifying this podcast in the first place, I just wanted to talk to people about music because that's like really all I want to do. But then I've like started to understand like, you know, not everybody always wants to talk about music as much as I do, nor do people like think of music in like such complex terms
Right.
as I
I think
might or like me sharing uh you know like or even like some of the like weird like experimental stuff I listen to that I'll get really excited about. I'll really have to bury now because I'm just like there just might not be somebody that I can share this with because it's not
yes.
you know unless they can like see it for the like objective artistry I guess but not like but I'm not even like listening to it in like objective artistry terms sometimes. I'm just like, this is the most incredible thing I've ever heard because I like feel
Right.
crazy listening to it or something like that. I'm not
Right.
like chopping it down into all its little bits and pieces of why it is a great song. Like heard like the Die Slaughter album for the first time, I was just like, I don't get it, but this feels amazing to listen
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
can't,
I think part of with sharing music is like understanding that to ask someone to enjoy something new is like a bigger ask, I think, than people realize,
mm,
especially for music. Like you're even myself, I find like there's times where I am super excited to go and listen to new music, and there's times where I'm like, I just want to listen to these like five songs that I really like right now.
yeah. Oh
Because
yeah.
mentally, like the ability to go and even be open to enjoying a new song is like it's a bigger ask, I think, than we realize. Um, because I know for myself, like I often can feel bad because somebody will share a song with me or like play it for me, and if I don't even necessarily have to have had a bad day, but it can just be like this isn't my favorite song right now, so I don't want to listen to it.
Yeah.
And so I often have to like take it and listen to it like once or twice more later when I'm like
Yeah.
in the mood, and then I'll be like, oh, I really actually like this a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I do a lot of, like if friends send me stuff that I'm not super keen on, I do a lot of like, like cool man, like,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
sort of
right.
like not trying to be like, because there's like no point in me being like, yeah, I really don't like this. Like, don't send me anything more. Because
Right,
I
right.
appreciate like this is a friend like trying to share something genuine with me, and I don't want to like maybe that's like dishonest in a way. I don't know, but
No, I don't, I think, because music is so personal. Like it's
yeah,
especially, I think in the way most of us consume music, like the majority of my music, besides when I'm listening at like a get social gathering, but the majority of my music is done with like headphones in.
right, yeah,
And so like I really don't care what anyone around me thinks about the
right,
song. Um,
right,
so it is
yeah,
like a comfort, or it's a self-indulgent thing. And not everyone, you don't always want the same dessert as the person you're sitting across the table
mm,
from. It's sort of like that.
mm, yeah, yeah. That's good, good metaphor, man. Um, yeah, and I stopped wearing headphones at the gym. I don't know how long this will last, but like because I started to because I was just kind of curious. I was like, so what's like everybody else listening to in the gym right now that's that just is like piped in through the Planet Fitness
Mhm.
like loudspeakers or whatever. And also like what am I not hearing? Because I have an impulse to want to know more about like new music as it's released, and there aren't so many ways to do that organically. Like,
Right.
Spotify's like super tailored to, which is incredible, like how sort of
Yeah.
specific you can get with like algorithm attunement and things like that. But, it's just not super spontaneous.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And it's been, so it's like hearing stuff out loud and then like running to the TV that like shows what song is playing and then like trying to remember that song in my head. And um yeah, I mean it's for being one of the I think for being like one of the art forms that's like easiest for people to connect with and um to find like mutual appreciation for really quickly, it is also like super it is so personal, like you were
Yeah.
saying. And so it has this like ability to really connect people, but then also like there is the possibility that you could get the door slammed really hard in your face, making an attempt to
Yes.
have
And I
a
think
connection with someone.
I ran in throughout my music list, like the things I was always most excited about. I received the door slammed in the face a lot, so I'm just sort of used to that. I
Yeah.
think one area that has really helped me like feel good about the music I like and discover other music is a few of my friends from like truly since middle school or some since elementary school, we have like a shared playlist that we add
Mm,
songs to.
yeah.
Um, and it's all over the place in terms of genres. Generally, we agree on like we can appreciate. So I think when you a group of people who you trust, you're more open to appreciating the music, and so that's
Yeah.
helped me discover stuff. And
Yeah.
they're not gonna like everything you put in, so it does help you. It's like but they're your friends, so you know it's okay to share it with them.
Yeah.
Um, so that's one of my outlets, I would say, for like sharing music in a safe way. And since it's
Yeah.
such a long playlist, like
Right.
one song not being liked is not gonna upset you.
All right. Thank you to Mike. I think that's a great episode. If you're interested in anything else I got going on, I produce a weekly radio show on 107.7 FM here in Brattleboro, Vermont. You can also stream that online at wvew.org. That airs every Sunday at 12 p.m. Eastern. And you can read the music writing newsletter that I have at buttondown.email/here to listen. All right, we'll see y'all next week.